So these are our initial plans. Just had some basic ideas of what we were going to do with some of the material we had. So I've got a bending jig set up for some top rail off a chain link fence. So we're bending the radius right now. These are about 21 feet long. And we just got them strapped down and we're bending them. There's a bunch of them bent, more or less ready to go. And we're putting them in the frame. I welded up some hangers for the pieces to go together. And then there'll be the other one, like all of these will have one on it for your middle row, your middle bar.
Yeah.
And then there'll be another one about here.
Uh-huh.
And you go through all of those on both sides. And then down here, someplace or other, there'll be a 2x6. But what they do on hoop houses is that.
What?
Are you videoing?
Yeah.
I don't want you to talk.
Just talk louder.
No.
You're doing a perfect job.
I'm going to put 2x6 on here, a hip board, I guess they call it. So you can roll the sides up to the hip board. You can usually leave that the bottom part loose.
Yeah, for air ventilation. That's a good idea.
So the hip board, I don't know, is somewhere in here.
Okay.
And it's the plastic comes down, gets fast and hard onto that. They use a wiggle wire thing, but we'll probably cheat. And then the bottom is usually loose, and they just have a bar through there. Probably go with a piece of plastic for that, and you just roll it up or down for ventilation on the sides. I don't know, we'll see how we can change it, whatever. So everything's framed up here. We're just kind of lining everything up and getting everything straight. I bought some greenhouse plastic to put on the outside edges. Got some pretty fancy glasses on there. Getting everything stretched out, ready to haul it across. We'd been given a bunch of 4x4s that had a bunch of notches cut in them. So that's what I used for framing. I wouldn't have bought them, but we had them and they were free, so. I thought it was just going to slide off of that. That piece of wood really wanted to come along for the ride. So I'm getting a little bit of instruction here. We waited for a day that was, the frost had gone out, so it was just soft enough that we could drag it over some of the bumpies without tearing the skids off of it. If we waited longer, it would have been soft and we'd have really rutted up the yard, and if it had been harder earlier in the day, well, then we'd hit something frozen and it wouldn't have went very well. So we're just kind of skidding around on a little bit of mush on top without ripping things apart. Built it over at the shed because all the tools are there, and it saves about 400 trips across the yard, and being on skids, we can move it if we don't like it where it's at. So we're just fine tuning the placement here. We just got to move it a couple inches over, so just jack it up a bit and then push it over off the jack to get it lined up where I wanted it to be. Just a wee bit muddy there, so that's part of the door. Made a Dutch door for it. It's installing the top of the door. This is the day I put the plastic on. It was raining and snowing and cold and windy, but it was nice and warm inside. But the frost had gone out, so when I went up the ladder, it was pretty sloppy. Ladder would sink down about one step every time I'd go up one step. Been nice to use one full sheet of plastic, but we were using what we had. I'm staking it down there because we get some really strong winds. Put a bunch of those in to hold it down. I didn't want it at the neighbors. Annette couldn't wait to get her plants in there. We got the door finished. And Annette put her walkway in with some wood chips. This is just some field dirt I brought in. And then she topped the field dirt with some nicer potting soil mix.
I finished planting the greenhouse in the rain today. You can see I got some basil, some marigolds along the front, peppers along the back there. Those are some Roma tomatoes. And then along this fence wall, there are some cherry tomatoes. They're indeterminate variety, so they'll just grow right up this thing. And then, of course, more peppers and marigolds in front. Some homegrown basils. Back in the corner, there's a couple of cantaloupes that I planted. And along this back wall, I planted some scarlet runner beans that are going to be beautiful with their red flowers when they start climbing and flowering. And then some Cherokee purple tomatoes, heirloom variety. They should be beautiful. Back in this corner here, I planted a scallopini summer squash. Hopefully the plant doesn't get too big. It's got some room there. Along the back wall here, I got some beefsteak tomatoes and some more Cherokee purples. Interplanted with some peppers and some marigolds. And then finished the corner off over here with some more basils. And when this lettuce moves out, I planted the lettuce in here because I'd started it at the same time as these seeds. Then I'll put something else in the corner here. So I know they look pretty small now, and they're certainly small compared to some store-bought ones that you can get right now that are super huge. They've been growing all winter, but I bet you in a week they're going to be starting to grow nice and big.